Hello friends, welcome to the ninth video of hallway flood tutorial. So in this video we will see how to render passes from Houdini. Okay, let's see how. So this shot, if you see from camera, what passes should we render? So the passes will be this mesh, this background, or this hallway beauty, this hallway occlusion, and we need a that spray, foams and bubbles in separate passes. So how are we gonna do that? So we first go to out, and here we will set separate mantra node for all our passes. Okay, I'll show you how we can do this. So let's start from spray. So we'll take a mantra node, and this mantra is the main thing which we want to study here is this object thing. Okay, so if you are familiar with this, it's okay. If you are not and you are seeing this first time, so I would like to show you in detail. So let's open a new Houdini. So here I have a new Houdini, and I'll just show you how we gonna mask thing and how to render mattes and how we can exclude objects and things. Okay, so this is our grid. Just turn off this and use box here, and use a spear, and this is enough for a demonstration. You can use a point light here and a point light bit up, and of course you can see this like that. Create a new camera, go to out, create a mantra. Okay, let's render mantra 1 because this is mantra 1. We want to render that. Okay, so nothing fancy, just created 3 objects, 1 light, and we'll see what's the object thing will do. Okay, go to always on top. I prefer this instead of this render view because this run on separate thread, so whenever you hit render you can still work inside Houdini, so it's far better for me. Okay, anyway, so now just see this option, force matte. What the force matte is, if we want this character should not visible on render, so what we gonna do, we will add the name of this object. So what is the name of this object? Obviously you don't remember the name, so you can go and find out what's the name. You can select the box object 1 and accept pattern. Then if you render, you can see your object is now removed from, or it's not matte from the render. Okay, now you can see this is object is matte, but it's casting shadow, but I don't want shadow, and I don't want this object I want completely get out from here. So you can put in exclude object. What exclude object will do, if you hit render, it will completely exclude that object from your render. Okay, so sometimes we required matte, sometimes we required exclude object. But let's say if we want the shadow of the character or whatever object was there, but we don't want the matte of the object, so for that effect you can use the force phantom. So we just put this from here to here, Control V, and if you render now, then you must see the shadows, no character there. Okay, so with that you can get only the shadow pass of the character. But now let's see, go back to the force mat and Control X and Control V and hit render again. If this is matted or not, you can see this black here, but if you go and check the transparency or the alpha channel, then you must see this thing, this hole must be there. Okay, so this is not color, this is completely a hole out of here. Like if you put a new image in background, so that will be visible here. But now my issue is, if the object is not there, it's fully cut it off from the scene, why it's casting shadow? I don't want this shadow. So that is not handled from this mantra node. That is something you should deal with the light. Okay, so to do the things with related to lights, you can play with this. There must be a light linking, yes, light linker. Go to light linker, and here you can see the mode. You can select either light centric or object centric. So for me it's like light centric, and here you can select which object you want to be affect with this light. So now I don't want box to be affect with that. Okay, oh sorry, I don't want this to be affect, so we can shift select these objects and exclude the box and just hit render. So that means we just exclude this light. Oh sorry, so we exclude this light, and also we go to object level and see the box attribute, and go to render, and here you can see the light mask. The light mask, you should remove this star. Okay, so that means we don't want this this light to affect this object. Okay, now let's render. But still the shadow is there, so you should go to point light, and in point light where you can go to the shadow, because this shadow is casting from this point light, and here you can see the shadow mask. So right now this shadow is applied to all, but if we exclude the box from here, and if you say the accept pattern, so we should properly mat our object, and there is no shadow from that object. So like that, this is just an example. Like you can use these same techniques to create your objects, extract from other objects, and render separately for compositing. So now let's jump back to our scene. So here we have our shot. Same thing which I apply here. If I show you the flip spray, and if we go to the object first, so I mat foam, bubbles, hallway, which is this hall, and surface interior, all these objects mat from this layer. And inside in properties I give this path, by default it's IP. So if you see here, if you go, you can see this IP means like you are rendering temporary. So, but I want to save that file, so that's you can give the output picture name and the device it's out. Save in OpenEXR 32-bit float image. And if you want to render your file or your scene in testing, so you can use this option. This will override the camera resolution. So let's see if your camera Resolution is 1920 1080, which is HD. With this option clicked, and if it is 1 by 2, it will half the resolution to 96540. So just play with these value. It'll render your stuff in half resolution. Output option is it's not mandatory, but if you can fill, it's okay. Rendering, I use micro polygon rendering for some layers. But when I render particles and volumes, then I used micro polygon render. For set, if you can see this set, I used a ray trace. So yeah, ray tracing. So because it depends, like the things which work for particles will definitely not work for mesh. Okay, so because in mesh there are so much shadows, and the sampling rate is very high, and so that's why I like to play with this ray tracing. And the sampling is also by default it's 3 by 3. I increase that to 10 by 10, and that is also not a very high value, but it depends, like because I'm doing this shot in my laptop, so it's a very restricted hardware. You cannot go beyond that. You will spoil your hardware if you do play with this. Like your hours and hours of rendering will definitely affect your machine. And other thing, like which I can say, this is like render wood. If I am rendering wood, that means that also things are met and excluded. So the same funda is applying, or the same things are applying, which I explain you here. I met objects and separated them and render it out. So if you don't know how to render the image sequence here, I can show you. If you select this, once you fill all the details here in out, and go there and select the frame range and hit enter, that will save your file in the location where you mention. For other than that, I use this for my setup, and I rendered these passes. So I rendered bubbles, foam, mesh, spray, render set, and render wood. There are the wood pieces there. For render set, I rendered two passes. One is occlusion and one is beauty. And for these, I rendered only one passes. I know if I created this shot, and if I have to create this shot for a production or inside any studio, that I will go for, there are many different passes which really make this shot more realistic. So I can tell you the name of those passes. Like if I would have a better machine here, and I would also time here to do so, then I will first increase this particles resolution 3 times more. Okay, because this is very less particles which is simulated here. Second thing is, I would render this shadow, this light pass, shadow pass, and the specular pass, light pass, indirect light pass, occlusion pass, diffuse pass, normal pass. These passes I would render for this background, and this fog pass, volume fog pass. For mesh especially, reflection pass, specular pass, and this light pass. So there are so many passes. With those passes, the freedom is when you do when you have all the passes in your hand, and in the composting you can play a lot with those passes and create more photorealistic effect. So for a general understanding of this, how things goes with Houdini, I think this video will give you a very good understanding of like things to move forward from your side, and you can also plan your stuff to move ahead. Like you can create a simple cube, and inside that you can create a simple hole and just fill that cube with water. Just play with that, and once you did the test, and then you can apply the same formula to big things, to big hallways, and any scene you can. So it's up to you, it's up to your creativity. And yeah, I think this is it for this tutorial. So I'll see you in next video with some compositing tricks, how I composite these passes in Nuke. Okay, so see you there.